Welcome back to the college lineup. I'm Eli.
And I'm Carson. Eli, it's great to be back with you here. Episode number 20. We have hit the big 2-0, moving on up out of the teens here. We've got a Final Four basketball weekend ahead of us. We had a great weekend of college baseball this past week. Let's break some of it down. Oh yeah, there we go.
Hey.
New sound effect has hit the soundboard here.
Yeah, sorry, it took me a second to find it. Nonetheless, go back to what you were saying.
No, it's all good. I say we get into some Final Four fun and go on with who we have to win the NCAA basketball season. What do you say?
That works with me. I'm excited.
All right, so we have the first game is this Saturday, April 4th, 5:09 tip-off here. We have number 2 UConn versus number 3 Illinois. I will preface this by saying, and I will give myself a quick shout out here, some quick recognition. My Final Four in my bracket is perfect as it sits right now. However, I do have Michigan winning the whole thing. I have them beating, let's see who I got them beating here. I got them beating Illinois. So we'll see if that holds up. But anyway, moving along, first game we have UConn versus Illinois. Eli, who do you think's going to take this game and move on to the national championship?
Okay, so you gloating over there about your perfect bracket, whatever, perfect Final Four bracket. Mine was chopped after Vandy lost in the round of 32. So let's go ahead and get that out of the way here. So I'm going to be picking a completely new Final Four. I did make 3 brackets, though, and I did have Michigan winning one of them. So maybe that will work out for me. It wasn't in any groups or anything like that. So not going to help me out at all for bragging rights or anything. But nonetheless, Illinois and UConn. I'm actually intrigued to see here that Illinois on ESPN Matchup Predictor is predicted at a 59% chance to win, while UConn's only at a 41. And UConn is the 2 seed here. So UConn coming out after I would say lucky win there. Had one of the Boozer brothers turn it over, and then they hit a buzzer beater 3. But after that great comeback win, I think they were down by like 19 at one point against Duke. So after that comeback win, I do think they're going to stay on fire here. And according to Matchup Predictor, I think they're going to upset Illinois and move on to the championship game. But overall seeding, that is not an upset because Illinois is the 3 seed. So we'll see what actually happens here. I haven't kept up with it a ton ever since Vandy got eliminated. I was a little salty after Nebraska eliminated us, but I am excited to watch the Final Four and see if UConn can take away the win against Illinois.
Yeah, Eli, I'm going to take Illinois to move on to the national championship game. I think UConn used up a lot of their time and energy in that Duke game. I think it's going to be really hard for them to refocus their team and their motivation, their efforts here to go and win this game. So give me Illinois to win this game. I do think it'll be a very close game, but ultimately here, I think Illinois gets it done.
Well,
so moving on to game number 2. This is the later tip-off game, 7:49 on Saturday night. We have 2 1 seeds going at it. Number 1, Arizona versus number 1, Michigan. Who you got?
Yeah, see, I don't like this because I don't like when 2 number 1 teams make it. It's just not fun for the whole March Madness stuff. The first game, we got a 2 and a 3 matchup. It's a lot better than the 1 and the 1 because why prove to anybody during March Madness that you deserve to be a 1 seed? Like, come on, guys. You got to let somebody else win. Let's be real. Anyway, I'm going to pick Arizona here. In my third bracket, obviously, I did have Michigan winning the whole thing. But nonetheless, I am going to take Arizona. I think they've been on a heater, and they've been on a heater all season. Don't think it's slowing down now. So I think it's going to be Arizona versus UConn. in the championship game?
I've got to stick with my bracket here. I've had Michigan winning the whole thing, so I'm going to take them here to beat Arizona. Now, I think this is going to be the best game. I don't want to say maybe not the best game because we've seen some pretty crazy stuff happen so far this March Madness, but I think this will be, in terms of talent and physicality, I think this game will have the best of both worlds with these two teams. We have a Michigan team that is very, very, very physical, and we have an Arizona team that just dominates every aspect of the court. So it's going to be two great teams going at it here. Expect a lot of really good basketball in this one. But I am going to take Michigan to beat Arizona, hand Arizona only its third loss of the season. That is something incredible alone. Is Arizona's only lost 2 games and Michigan's only lost 3 games so far this season. So these are two powerhouse programs here that both know how to win and how to find ways to win. So it'll be interesting to see these two teams go at it, and I look for a great game here. But ultimately, I am going to take Michigan to move on to the national championship.
Well, that's interesting. We're going to each have 2 separate teams going into the national championship, so going to be an interesting pick. I guess I'll go right on ahead and say who I think is going to win the national championship. So, it's obviously between UConn and Arizona. Unfortunately, I hate the 1 seed winning, but I do think that they are going to be able to mow past UConn here and stay on that heater, and ultimately win the national championship, make all the Arizona fans happy, make all the Michigan fans upset because they got knocked out in the Final Four. Not against Arizona, but nonetheless, well, actually, would be against Arizona. Sorry, it would be against Arizona. So Arizona knock them out of the Final Four, knock Carson's bracket all to shambles here, and then they win against UConn in the national championship. So I am going to pick the Arizona Wildcats to win the national championship.
Got to stick with my bracket here. We made it with a little bit of knowledge, a lot of gut feeling, and a little bit of hope. And so far, it has gotten us into a pretty good spot here. So I'm going to take the Michigan Wolverines. As bad as I don't want to say it, as mad as I was that they beat my Alabama Crimson Tide here, I'm going to take Michigan to beat Illinois. So me and Eli will know after Saturday what our brackets are going to look like and what our thoughts and picks are going to look like.
This is true.
I'm going to take Michigan here to be your 2025-2026 national champions.
Side note about this, before or after the national championships ended, before really anything else happens, what's exciting to me is I was just thinking about this is the transfer portal is going to open up for basketball. And it's only I think it's April 7th through April 20th or something like that. So it's a very, very short time, about a 2-week time period that people can enter the transfer portal. So that's going to be very interesting to see what all happens there. I've seen some April Fool's stuff going around about some pretty big names in college basketball potentially transferring. Obviously, it's April 1st, so most of those are jokes. But nonetheless, I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, Carson, but I think it's going to be very exciting to see right after the national championship what all goes down transfer portal wise.
Yeah, it's an interesting time frame for sure because I feel like we're going to have a lot of players that maybe it's going to be an emotionally driven decision. We're going to have a lot of players that are feeling the disappointment, the hurt, and the frustrations from this past season just end. And maybe we've seen a lot of guys fully haven't gotten over those yet. We might see just a lot of players make an impulse decision to jump in the transfer portal that may not if they had another month or two to think about it. You know, if we were looking at a late May or a June portal and or a couple months with your season behind you now, we might see some different decisions. So interesting time frame for sure, but it's going to be interesting to see who all joins the portal, what players move around, and what these schools and these coaches pull out to keep their star talent here, because that seems to be the name of a good coach these days is can you keep star talent and can you recruit star talent out of the portal, not just replacing players that you lose, but retaining good talent and ultimately building around that good talent. So I think that is the new challenge for head coaches, and that ultimately now, whether you agree or disagree with NIL, I think everyone can agree that what makes a good coach now is being able to keep talent and build around it. And if you can't do that, you're going to fall behind in this day and age. And if you refuse to use the portal at all, you're definitely going to fall behind. That's the struggle we've seen with some more old school coaches that are bigger on developing players, is that when they're wanting to develop players, these players aren't staying for 3 to 4 years because they can go to other colleges that provide more NIL opportunities, that provide more playing time. So you just don't see the 3 to 4 year players at the same school getting that development that these developmental coaches want. So it's going to be interesting. I always look forward to seeing how it develops every year, and ultimately how NCAA is going to have to manage it differently every single year.
Yeah.
With that being said, let's go ahead and move over to some NCAA baseball here. We had a great weekend of baseball this past weekend. Let's go ahead and start with I think the one that me and you are most excited about and had a fun weekend watching here. The Vanderbilt Commodores resurrecting from the dead here after getting the brake speed off of them last week down in Starkville. They come back to Nashville and they put it on their in-state rival Tennessee. 3 walk-off wins this weekend. Eli, what are your thoughts on your Vandy boys this weekend?
So first, I just want to point out, so that way you can't just mow by the Mississippi State series. We didn't get to talk about it last week because we were not able to meet up and record a podcast. Obviously, that's neither here nor there. We're recording now, and that's all that matters. But I do remember Carson saying that Vandy was going to sweep Mississippi State, and he was very upset that I didn't choose the Vandy boys to pull out on top. I think I did say that. I think they'd win 1, but they ended up getting swept. So, Carson, it is what it is, man. Got to take those losses when they come to you. But other than that, I just felt good about that because I never doubt the Vandy boys until I have to. And that weekend, I felt like I had to. So, nonetheless,
I was just a weekend early on the sweep. A weekend early.
Right.
I felt the sweep incoming, and I just pulled the trigger just a hair quick, But it's all right. I still got the sweep prediction in, just not the right weekend.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I would have said the same thing. And, ultimately, we can say that now because there's no telling what we would have suggested for this week against Tennessee if we would have recapped last week. So we can claim that. We'll just say that, you decided that you jumped the gun a little bit, and instead of the maroon color, you meant the gaudy orange color. So anyway, that's enough jibber jabbering, enough back and forth. We will get into the Tennessee versus Vandy series. Like you said, Carson, it was a lot of fun to watch, just because nobody likes Tennessee, besides Tennessee fans. I think we very much so established that on this podcast. But to do it in the fashion that the Vandy boys did it made it 10 times better. So Friday night, you got them going in. Pretty low-scoring game. Went into, I think, the 10th inning, or maybe it was the bottom of the 9th, but I think it went 1 extra inning to the bottom of the 10th. And you have Logan Johnstone, again, second walk-off of his tenure at Vandy. His first one was a walk-off home run in the first SEC series against LSU. And now fast forward to the SEC's second home series against Tennessee on Friday. He gets a base hit past the shortstop, and that ultimately drives in the winning run there. Fast forward to Saturday, we do walk it off after 16 innings, if I'm not mistaken, around that area. We got a walk-off bunt, suicide squeeze, and it ended up working out, obviously, as we got the win there. But Sunday was the most shocking one of the whole weekend. Down 15-10. Well, down 12-10 in the 8th. They ended up scoring 3 runs. So now we're down 15 they scored 3 runs in the 9th. So now going to the bottom of the 9th, down 15-10. I was laying in my bed, dozing off because I was like, oh man, we're not going to do anything here. We really needed that sweep after being swept by Mississippi State. So I was dozing off, and then we got 2 runs in. I was like, oh man, I got to wake up for this. I got to see what happens. Load the bases. Old T Goody gets subbed in to pinch hit. Takes the first ball, or well, Esposito, our great hitting coach, said, "Timeout, Blue. Let me talk to my boy." Talk to him. First pitch, ball. Oh, great. Maybe they'll walk in another run. Who knows? Second pitch. I think it was like a low fastball. May have not even been in the strike zone. Golfed that thing left center field. And they were all running back, and everybody's like, "Is that gone?" And by the time it landed behind the bleachers. He killed that ball. Grand slam. Vandy beats the Tennessee Volunteers and sweeps the series 16-15. So enough talking to me. Carson, what was your reaction to those 3 walk-off games, and what are some of your takeaways from seeing these Vandy boys fight back and sweep a series?
I think for me, the best thing to look at it from a positive perspective for Vandy here is you really saw something each game that made you more excited for the season. For example, there's been games this year when Vandy's pitching has just been terrible. Put it quite simply. They haven't been able to throw strikes. We've seen walks galore. We've just seen ultimately terrible pitching from this Vandy staff so far. So Friday night's game, having a 3-2 win, being able to hold this Tennessee team that is a Tennessee team is always going to be known for their home runs, for their hitting, power hitting. You know, Tennessee's been known for that these past several years. So being able to see them being held to 2 runs, big win for the Vandy pitching staff there. But then also you look at Sunday's game, and obviously pitching staff, we see they struggled again. Yep. But there's been times this year we've seen Vandy struggle to hit the ball. We've seen moments, this Vandy team has been so up and down hitting this year. We've seen moments where they've come in groves. This team is a power team. They're hitting more home runs than any Vandy team in the past, 10 years. But then we've seen them last weekend against Mississippi State just struggle, and it is a struggle to come by any sort of run. Now, whether that was Vandy hitting, which it probably was a mix of both, or Mississippi State pitching, like I said, probably a good mixture of both there because Mississippi State has some very elite arms. That's why they are one of the top teams in the country this year. But anyway, we see this Vandy team, when their pitching staff gets down and out, not freak out. They go right to the bats. They're aggressive at the plate. They are going up there looking to be aggressive and looking to do damage here. And so they put up 16 runs, like you said, in that game Sunday. When you let up 15 runs as a pitching staff and you still win the game, that's impressive. That's very impressive to me. So for me, the biggest takeaway for Vandy is they're finding ways to win games when their pitching staff doesn't have good games and when hitting is not having as good of great games here. So when Vandy can become really good is when you have their aces like Fennell, who can go out there and just put together 5 or 6 solid innings, let the bullpen work, and have, the ability to score 7 or 8 runs per game. I think that's when this Vandy team is going to start looking really, really good, is when they both mesh together. Because right now it's kind of a pick your poison. What's going to go wrong today? Is our pitching staff going to go wrong today? Is our hitting going to go south today? So I think if this Vandy team can score 7 to 8 runs per game and just let their pitching staff be average to good, I think this Vandy team can go really far. But when we see the pitching struggle like we have against Mississippi State and the bats go cold, that's when this Vandy team is just going to get ran over. So really hoping it can all come together for them. This is a really good Tennessee team too, but not to take anything away from Vandy, but this is a Tennessee team that is probably not as strong as we've seen in recent years, with the coaching change there. This is a team that is already 3-6 in SEC play. They are 1-5 away this year, so they are kind of, I don't want to say struggling, but they're not a Tennessee team that we're used to. But still, getting an SEC sweep at any point in the year is a big deal. And Tennessee now welcomes LSU this weekend in Knoxville, so that'll be another true test for this Tennessee team, see what they can do at home. And Vandy will head to Texas A&M. Going to be a tough environment there. This is a Vandy team that also needs to prove that they can go and win games on the road here. So it'll be interesting to see what these teams do in the next couple of weeks, but ultimately a great series here for the Vandy boys.
Yep. So I think that's a very good synopsis of the weekend for the Tennessee Volunteers versus the Vanderbilt Commodores. I agree with all your points that you have. One other thing that I wanted to point out that is just bouncing off of you. It is still hard to gauge for Vandy because, again, like you said, Tennessee is struggling a little bit more this year than they have in the past 3-4 years or so. So they may go and get killed by LSU at home, and then all of a sudden now it's like oh, okay, well Tennessee is at the bottom of the SEC now, and they were never much in the first place. So I think again another test, like you said, is going to be this weekend for both teams, LSU for Tennessee and Texas A&M for Vandy. One thing I wanted to build off of, switching up teams here, the Alabama Auburn series, I kind of wanted to bring up for a second because, Alabama's been pretty decent the past couple years in baseball. So more and more Alabama fans are starting to get into baseball and realizing that it's not just football. But their basketball team got good, not just football and basketball, now baseball. So they are really adapting well to the whole NIL thing, which football, you never really worry about a ton there because just of the history they've had. So it's been easy to get those, to adapt to that more easily there. Basketball, they've done great. Anyway, back to baseball here. They are now 6-3 in the SEC with two sweeps, and then so I guess they got swept one time, two maybe against I forget who it was exactly, but getting two sweeps.
Kentucky swept them for
Okay,
opening weekend. Yep, in
Kentucky swept,
Lexington.
but then they've swept two series in a row. So going 6 straight wins there is pretty big deal, especially against the Auburn club, who I think was top 10 at the time. So they were fifth. So
Auburn was fifth going into Tuscaloosa last weekend.
So I'm not going to pretend I know much about Alabama's team, so I'll let Carson touch on it a lot more. But overall, really, really excited to see where Alabama goes. Beating some good teams, sweeping an Auburn team who you could tell if you watched it all this weekend that they did not like that for 1 second. One of their pitchers ended up cussing out the guy at second or something like that. I was seeing clips about that. So I thought it was funny because somebody tweeted out, "Can someone read his lips for me?" And it was pretty obvious of what he was saying. So I just thought that was pretty funny. But I think they actually had a shutout, a no-hitter maybe on Friday, or that might have been the weekend before. Anyway, I know one of Alabama's pitchers had a no-hitter either against Auburn in that series or the weekend before that, either a no-hitter or a complete game. So anyway, I'll let Carson touch on that a little bit more. But great wins overall, and I did see that one of Alabama's seniors, I forgot his name, but he was playing really, really good. So yeah, that doesn't help out a ton. But anyway, I'm going to give it over to Carson and let him kind of recap a little more.
Yeah, great weekend for Alabama here. So a little Iron Bowl of baseball down in Tuscaloosa this past weekend. So this is a Bama team that was coming off a sweep of Florida the weekend before. So really looking to see what this team can do. They also played Florida in Tuscaloosa, so we had back-to-back home weekend series here. This is an Alabama team that is very momentum-based, right? We saw them beat Florida, and it was all, a little bit chippy game. We saw them, pull out some great wins there. We saw a little bit of back and forth with the Alabama-Auburn players this past weekend, building into that momentum. So Alabama's got some great pitching, mostly by a man named Tyler Fay. He is off to a great year, and he is the Friday night guy for Alabama. As you mentioned, he did throw a no-hitter, a complete game no-hitter against Florida the weekend before the Auburn series. So, yeah, absolute stud. Very great control of his stuff right now. Great off speed, and is able to fill up counts really, really early and force hitters into uncomfortable situations here. But you also got elite level hitters. Most famous is probably Justin LeBron. He had a breakout year last year, and he's obviously having a breakout year this year as well. So really just a very solid Bama team that it's not going to blow you away in terms of home runs and stats and everything else, but they are just going to go and be a base hit to death team. They're going to have guys on. They're going to take advantage of walks, and they're going to take advantage of struggling pitchers. They're going to put guys on base, and they're very good situational hitters. They are going to get the ground balls when they need to. They are going to have gap shots when they need to, but ultimately they are just moving players 90 feet at a time, finding ways to score a lot of runs. And this is something we really, for the Friday night game, it was kind of a shock to Auburn. And it's not like they weren't expecting how strong this Bama team was. This was a game that was over in 8 innings because Bama was up 11-1 after 8. So this Bama team has a potential to be really, really good. We saw a huge jump for them in this week's rankings. They went from unranked to, I believe, they are now at 16 in the college baseball rankings. So Auburn, they were sitting at 5 before this series. They now jumped down to 18. So big jump for them there. And I believe Florida was also ranked when Alabama swept them a couple weeks ago. Florida has now jumped down to 21. So definitely some movement there. You have a lot of teams still trying to figure out, or you have rankings still trying to figure out just how good these teams are. You are going to have another testy weekend here for Alabama. They will roll into Norman, Oklahoma, Thursday through Saturday series here, and Oklahoma is currently sitting at number 11 in the country. We've talked about them a little bit in the past couple weeks here in the college lineup, and just a great team out there in Oklahoma. It's going to be a real tester here for the Tide, too. Also, back-to-back home weekends, they might be out of the field for playing away. It's just a different environment when you have to go into someone else's house. You're getting ready on a field that's not yours. You're not using your own facilities. You're not sleeping in your own bed. So different feel for Alabama this weekend. It's going to be a great test of just how good this team is. But great weekend by Alabama. We kind of, mentioned about Vandy that Tennessee wasn't the Tennessee team that we're used to, but This Auburn baseball team is probably the best Auburn baseball team that we've seen in a long time for them. We saw in the Hoster Regional, I believe it was 3 years ago now, Auburn. In the past couple of years, they've just kind of slumped down, but not this year. They're off to a great start. They're 20-8 overall. They've been playing some great competition as well. They played Florida State earlier in the year. They've been playing Georgia Tech in some midweek games as well. And so they've been off to some tough games here. They've also already played Texas this year too. So this is an Auburn team that is really good, really talented, and they are going to be a team to watch out for as we move further in the season and more into SEC tournament play.
Yep. Last thing I want to know on Alabama, I actually saw today where they beat Jacksonville State midweek. While off the top of the dome here, that doesn't sound like super big deal, but Jacksonville State in 2 or 3 of the polls was actually ranked 24 or 23rd or 24th. So even though that's a midweek game, that's still a big win, especially ranked, because when people look at it, it's going to be like, oh, Jacksonville State was ranked then. Now, some people obviously may give credit to different places there and say, well, Jacksonville State just had won a bunch of games and they had only lost 5 games beforehand. And so they haven't played a lot of people. I don't know, but at the same time, anytime you can beat a ranked team, no matter who it is still great. So after they swept those 2 SEC series, they do come on in the midweek and beat Jacksonville State actually today. Or yesterday, maybe. I don't remember exactly when it was. But nonetheless, it was yesterday. So, nonetheless, great start for Alabama. Solid start for Vandy. You would have wished they could have won a few more games at the end or at the beginning of the season. But again, great season start by Alabama and solid start by the Vanderbilt Commodores. Carson, you got any other teams you want to recap?
Just really quickly here, I think Mississippi State just kind of further showed their dominance this past weekend. I believe they swept Ole Miss this past weekend, so we had a little in-state rivalry action here for Mississippi State. But we've talked about how strong of a team this is, and just overall. This is an Ole Miss team that's also very good. They were 18 going into Starkville or hosting Mississippi State this past weekend, and Mississippi State won the Friday night 5-4, won Saturday 6-1, and won Sunday 7-1. So that further shows that, we talked down a little bit about Vandy losing to Mississippi State and dropping that series, but I really do think Mississippi State is the real deal so far this year. They have proved that time and time again. And also wanted to point out another thing. We talked about LSU and the struggles they've had this year. Yep. They got a series win this past weekend against Kentucky, and Kentucky is a top 25 team as well. LSU even put up 17 runs on Kentucky on Sunday, winning the Saturday and Sunday games. So might be worth noting here that Mississippi State is as good as we think they are, and LSU might be finding a little bit of rhythm here. Like we mentioned earlier, they do have to go to Knoxville this past weekend, so that's going to be my series to watch out for this weekend.
Yeah. Last series I want to point out here is Florida actually coming and beating Arkansas, actually sweeping the series this last weekend. So that's a big deal for Florida. You did say, I think Alabama did sweep them in the second series. Is that correct? So, yep. So Alabama sweeping Florida, which, as you can tell, now looks to be a pretty good weekend series for Alabama because Florida goes and sweeps Arkansas. Arkansas is ranked number 4, and Florida wasn't even in the rankings. So this whole SEC thing is starting to really heat up, this SEC baseball. So getting really exciting to watch these series and excited to watch this weekend for another great weekend of SEC baseball and just college baseball in general. So that's all I got for that.
All right. With that, I think it's time to move into our last segment here. Let's do a little rapid fire baseball series picks. What do you say?
Let's do it.
All right. So let's go ahead and kind of continue on the train we were just talking about. We have number 17, Arkansas, playing number 18, Auburn.
Ooh, this one's tough because both of them come off of sweeps of last weekend. I'm going to go with Arkansas here. I think Arkansas is going to win. Auburn's going to stay in the rankings just because they're going to pull out one of these games. So they're going to drop to about 23 or 24 probably. But I think Arkansas is going to win 2 of 3 here.
It's a good pick. I think I am going to go Auburn. This is a series down on the plains. So I'm going to go with Auburn here. Pretty electric environment down there for baseball, so yeah. I think they can pull out 2 out of 3. I don't think they'll get the sweep, but I think they can pull out 2 out of 3. Let's keep on moving here. This is going to be a great series. Number 5, Georgia, at number 4, Mississippi State.
Give me Mississippi State. I think they're going to sweep Georgia. That's just in my heart of hearts here. I'm going with my gut and my heart, and that's whoa. That was a stutter and a half. But nonetheless, I am going to not pick Georgia because I don't think they're going to be able to do it. I don't think they're going to be able to even stay close. So give me Mississippi State to sweep, and sweep again.
I'm also going to go State here. They've just showed over the past couple of weeks that they're just a force to be reckoned with in about every way that you can think of. This is also in Starkville, I believe. So, I mean, I think I saw a stat the other day that the top 10 attendance crowds in all of college baseball have all been set by Mississippi State in Starkville. So, just an electric crowd here. So, I'm going to go State big in this series. I think Georgia is a great team, but ultimately I think Mississippi State has seen plenty of great teams with Vandy and with Ole Miss these past couple of weeks. So I like Mississippi State to sweep as well. Moving on, we are going to go to a series I hinted at earlier here. We're going to go number 16, Alabama, versus number 11, Oklahoma. Who you got?
This one's tough because Alabama has definitely shown that they're in a rhythm. but Oklahoma has been just as good. They have competed at a high level this season, and for the third SEC, fourth SEC series now, they're looking pretty hot as well. But I'm going to go with my gut again. So may burn me in the end, but I think Alabama is going to win the series, and I think they're going to win 2 out of 3.
I like the pick, and I'm going to match it exactly. I think Alabama wins 2 out of the 3. They're coming off 2 big SEC sweeps here. Not getting the sweep this week in Oklahoma just because they're going to be on the road, and Oklahoma is just a notch better than the Florida and Auburn teams they have seen the past couple of weeks here. But ultimately, I think Alabama does get it done 2 out of 3, and they continue to climb in these college baseball rankings here. So let's keep a move on here. We have another top 10 matchup. We have number 7, Florida State, at number 10, Virginia.
Another tough one, and only a 3 seed difference here. But I am going to go with give me Florida State. I like Florida State. I like their colors. I like that they're good at baseball right now. So I am going to pick Florida State. I don't think they're going to sweep, and I think it's going to be a close 3 games. But I'm going to pick Florida State to win 2 out of 3.
This one's tough, man. I'm going back and forth on this one. Records are very similar as too. We got 22-6 Florida, and we got 23-7 Virginia. I think I am going to go Florida State as well. Do not think they're going to get the sweep here. I think this is definitely going to be a 2 out of 3 scenario here for Florida State, and it is going to be a gritty 2 out of 3. So, yeah, not much else to say there. I'm going to go Florida State winning the series 2 out of 3, same as Eli, but it is going to be close here. So I'm going to end it with a little one that hits close to home. Let's do your unranked Vandy boys and number 20 Texas A&M. Want to see if you're going to go back to your loyalty here and pick Vandy. Who you got?
I am going to go back to my loyalty, and I'm going to pick the Vandy Commodores, the Vandy boys, to come away with the series win. I think it's going to be a close series, especially being at Texas A&M. Vandy is going to be put up for a run for their money. I think Fennell is going to have a great game again. I think Nadu, however you say it, our Saturday starter, is also going to have a great game. So I think we're going to take the first 2 and then lose to Texas A&M on Sunday. May get burnt for this, may have to come back and recap. And Carson, you may have to get at me like I did you for the Mississippi State game. But I'm going with Vandy to win 2 out of 3 against Texas A&M.
This is tough. Last time I took Vandy, they embarrassed me. They embarrassed my pick. I was so confident, and they just made me look like a fool. Not today. Give me Texas A&M. I think Vandy wins the Friday night game. I think Fennell comes out. I think he has a great game. I think Vandy wins Friday night. I think they struggled pitching-wise on Saturday. And then Vandy historically has always struggled pitching in the Sunday slot. So, I mean, we saw that with LSU. They gave up a ton of runs at LSU, 16, 17 runs at LSU a couple weekends ago on Sunday. We saw them give up a ton of runs to Tennessee last Sunday. And I just think being on the road in College Station, it'll be very tough for them to pull out a win there. So, give me Vandy winning the Friday night game and Texas A&M winning the series in the Saturday-Sunday games.
Will note that on the Sunday games, Vandy has been injured with pitchers. So, the past 2 weekends, it's actually been a game time decision. So when they post the graphics saying who's going to pitch Friday and Saturday, the Sunday is actually not picked. So they pick it last second there. Well, they don't really pick last second. They probably know, but the fans don't really know until they're ready for that. So, so great series of games we got. Going to be a very fun weekend to watch all of them, and I hope personally that I win every single one of them.
Absolutely. Well, Eli, as always, it has been an absolute pleasure to hop on here for episode 20 of the College Lineup. If you are listening here and you are not following us on Instagram or TikTok, please feel free to do that. They're both at the college lineup. If you want to go back and see the picks that we made, they will be posted on there before this weekend as well. Wherever you're watching this, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube, please feel free to follow us or subscribe to us on whatever platform you like to listen to us the most. As always, we appreciate you listening, and we will see you back next time on the College Lineup.